Let's call this meeting to order. All right. First up, let's have roll call.
Mr. Sheila. Mr. Bakley.
Here.
Mr. Dixon.
Here.
Mr. Artisan.
Here.
Mr. Carter. Mr. Lewis.
Here.
Mr. Postles. Mrs. Smith.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay. The approval of the minutes. Apparently, the April minutes were incorrect and need rescinded. Do I have a vote?
So moved.
Do I have a
Second.
second? All in favor say yay.
Yay.
All those against say nay. Hearing no nays, motion passed.
Just to grab the tissue real quick, so you might want to wait till she can go.
Oh my gosh.
Well, you don't have a quorum if she can't. So.
Well, you had to bring that up, didn't
just
you?
saying.
We're rolling along here
I'm
quite
sorry.
nicely.
Don't put any of this in the paper.
You might as well put it all in the paper. It'll be good reading.
New section, comedy.
Probably, yeah, put it in the
Put it in the
comedy
comics.
section.
They won't give me enough space.
You can even draw them.
It'll be like Laurel and Hardy.
So she needs.
Yeah, I can even draw the cartoon for you.
Oh,
Union Avenue was closed.
Okay, we will wait for you so we can.
31st Street.
You're fine.
I'm like, oh,
Right.
you turn around and go back now.
so then it would be for April, the new one would be April and May.
So you're voting on.
All right, now let's go back over this again.
Sorry.
The approval of the minutes, the April 24th, 2025 meeting. Minutes were approved, which they were incorrect, so they have to be rescinded. Do I hear a motion to rescind the April 24th, 2025 minutes?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor say yay.
Yay.
All those against say nay. Hearing no nays, the motion passes. Now, the new April 24, 2025 meetings and the May 29th, 2025 meeting minutes are up for approval. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor say yay.
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 All those against say nay. Hearing no nays, motion passes. Now let's continue on with public comment period. Is there anybody from the public that would like to? Hearing nobody, we'll move on to the county commissioner liaison forum.
She's unable to come today.
Thanks.
She's unable to come, so we're going to go on to number 5. Altoona Center for Oral and, how do you say that? Maxillofacial surgery.
Go get your teeth out.
That's probably why I can't say it.
Yeah.
Keller Engineers submitted a land development plan located at 901 Valley View Boulevard in the city of Altoona. The submitted plan proposes construction of a new 10-space parking lot behind the existing medical building. So, you're up.
All right. Well, thank you for reading that in for me so I don't have to pronounce the full business name.
Well, I figured after I got through the name, I might have finished it off.
Yeah, well, that's appreciated. So again, for the record, my name is Ryan Countryman with Stewart Group. I'm here to present on this month's batch of permit reviews, and our first one up is submitted by Dr. Adam Goddard. What he's looking to do is expand the parking lot for his business. So looking at the site here, you've got the existing surgery center with the parking lot in front. The plan for this project is to do a lot line adjustment to take the backyard of this house, put it onto the surgery center property so that a new parking lot can be constructed with 10 spots behind it. The access would, the parking lot entry would come in off of the local road and then exit through the alley where there's an existing alley access out to Valley View Boulevard. So no building construction, just a new parking lot and stormwater facilities under that parking lot. Just for reference, this is in here in Altoona. It's on the east side of Pleasant Valley Boulevard and South 9th Street. The neighborhood's kind of interesting. It's a transition from commercial to residential uses. The zoning in this area is for single family, but the single family zoning does allow for some non-residential uses. And I'm not sure if this existing surgery center predates that zoning and is non-conforming, or if that was one of the uses that was originally permitted. I didn't have materials telling me when that was originally built. So the site itself, just kind of the overhead view. So we're looking at the surgery center here. Here again's that side yard that would be moved over to the surgery center property. And the suburban residential zoning again allows for medical offices. The other side of the road has commercial zoning, so it's kind of a mixed neighborhood on how that's set up. Proposed development here on the site plan, you can see the way the parking lot would be laid out. So you just come off of South 9th, come wrapping around. And the existing drive surface in the alley really only comes up to the current parking lot, so that drive surface in the alley would be opened up for further traffic. And then with the city zoning requirements, part of that is that for new commercial development, you have to put in a sidewalk if there isn't currently a sidewalk on your road frontage. So this section of Valley View Boulevard would get that sidewalk added in as part of the project. So it's just road frontage sidewalk there. A couple of considerations with this property, which is kind of interesting, is that the suburban residential zoning for this part of Altoona has some pretty large setbacks from the property lines, and almost nothing in the neighborhood meets those setbacks. So the current medical office building doesn't meet the setback from South 9th. The house that's a little bit off this image has several outbuildings. This one, and there's one that's right here you can just barely see. None of those meet the setbacks. The only building on any of this that meets the setbacks is this garage, which would no longer meet the property line side setbacks with the new proposed lot line. So it makes for a lot of non-conforming setback situations here. The project narrative that was submitted describes a number of waiver requests, and the materials that we received for that review did not include details on what those waiver requests are, but it's probably a safe bet that some of that is for exceptions from those very large setbacks in the city zoning standards. On the content of our review, the things that we were recommending was that the city of Altoona needs to obviously work through those waivers that they received. We just don't have information on what those were. PennDOT's likely to need an updated highway occupancy permit for that alley access that's getting upgraded and the additional traffic. There's less than an acre of land disturbance, so Blair County Conservation to take a look at the erosion and sediment control plan and stormwater facilities, but most of that stormwater facility was under that parking lot, so it's pretty straightforward. And after approval of the municipal requirements, likely recommendation of approval. taking a look at how the project fits with the comprehensive plan. The sort of relevant considerations for this project are you have access to health services is prioritized in Alleghenies Ahead, workforce development, so you have an expanding medical business, so that's supportive of those two things. The comprehensive plan also has discussion of housing and blight, where I wouldn't call this blight, but that's where one of the aspects of the municipal requirements with side setbacks and side yards comes into play, because typically City of Altoona zoning says that when you have a commercial use adjacent to a residential use, you have to have a landscape side yard. For this project, with that parking lot, you're not going to end up with that. And they're proposing to put in a fence to help provide some of that screening. So that's a judgment call that the city will have to make when they look at that waiver request. But that is an example of how the zoning standards play into the housing and blight kind of concerns with new development. Couldn't see anything where the project created any specific concerns with the comprehensive plan. Just wanted to raise a couple of those things for your consideration. So that's our first project, the Center for Oral and Maxillofacial Surgery.
Any comments? Hearing none, do I hear a motion to approve as outlined by staff? So moved. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor say yay.
Yay.
All those against say nay. Hearing no nays, motion passes. Okay, number 6, South Beach Tanning Salon.
Right, so the next project is another one in the city of Altoona. The project permit describes it as South Beach Tanning Salon and Coffee Shop. So what this project would be is a coffee shop on the ground floor with a tanning salon on the second floor of the proposed new building. Part of the development proposal is merging 2 vacant lots. The lot line is roughly from this adjacent corner through the property down to Pleasant Valley Boulevard, same owner, so they're just merging the lot lines to get rid of the side setbacks, and then proposing a new 2-story building, as I described, with the coffee shop first floor, tanning salon second. You can see the parking lot layout here, where you come in off South 2nd Street to the parking, and then you also have the queuing lane that comes around the building for coffee shop customers that are just going through the drive-through. So here in Altoona, it's off of Pleasant Valley Boulevard. Here's the Google Earth picture of what the site looks like recently. And as you can see, there's a residential neighborhood behind the property. You've got car wash on one side, tire store, service shop on the other.
No, from BG.
Oh,
I'm trying to figure out where it
we were
is.
trying to figure out where.
Oh, well,
Where the
we'll
boulevard splits.
yeah.
Okay.
Car wash
Yeah.
on the
Yeah, there was an old gas station there.
Yeah.
Maybe. It looked like it'd been empty
Yeah,
for a
way
while,
back.
so I don't
Well,
know.
way back, but
Yeah.
the problem I remember before was there was a possibility of contaminants on the site and they needed clearance.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that site's gonna have to have, the test done and everything, and then they need that certified
The prior
clearance.
owner was gonna put a car lot there, and somehow that got through. I'm not sure.
Well, it was
What happened?
true, but I think there was requirements.
Could be.
And apparently, from what I remember, the requirements were too tough to continue with the development.
But you're still gonna need, even though it passed before, you're still gonna need that certification of clearance from the state.
Yeah.
Because it was an old gas station with tanks and everything else, so. I mean, I'm sure whenever they pulled the tanks, they did the certification. So that's just a matter of getting that report and including
Yeah, well, that's good information to have because we didn't have any of that in the submittal materials that we were provided for review. And when I looked at Google Street View, the historic Street View photos, it's been vacant as far back as they go, which was something like 2009.
Well, that's what helps when you're my age.
Yeah.
Remember all this stuff.
Yeah, well, it is very helpful, and I appreciate that because I don't have that local knowledge or advantage here. I grew up in Washington State where I worked for the county there, Snohomish County, for 27 years, and it was great because it's the same area I grew up in. So I had the knowledge that you have, except that my knowledge isn't of any use to me here. So it's very good to have
you
that
can
feedback.
fudge it.
Well, you can.
Make stuff up.
If I make stuff up though, somebody like you is going to call me out, and that's the
Maybe,
whole
maybe
problem
not.
with it. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll have that conversation later. So
Brian, may I ask that the access to the future business would be from 22nd Street, or would it be from the highway? Is there going to be any access to Pleasant Valley Boulevard other than 22nd and 23rd Street?
No, they'll be coming off the two streets.
yeah. So
Okay.
the,
So
the,
they're part of this plan is that they're going to restrict ingress egress from Pleasant Valley Boulevard.
yeah,
correct?
this is the proposed layout here. So it would come off of South 22nd. I may have just called it South 2nd earlier, and then over to Ulm Street. So it's because of the distance, and I'm speculating here because we didn't have the traffic engineer's report, but when you have intersections that are relatively close apart with additional turning movement in here, typically you want those things spaced a little bit further apart, or it may have been just a matter of the site design with making the parking lot fit. So you've got your drive aisle widths here, and you notice where you've got the angled in parking, that's usually because you don't have physically enough room to do 90-degree parking.
Well, you also have the signal light system at 22nd Street.
Yep. So that's the access would come in off of South 22nd, come in that way, and then just rotate around and come back out to Pleasant Valley. If you're going back this way after you get your coffee, then great. Otherwise, you're right turn out of there. A couple of things with the site here. Once we move to the characteristics, this site has the highway business zoning. And then you've got around that, it's the residential single family zoning, which was kind of interesting to me just because you've got the existing car wash down here and then the tire store up here. So it's similar to the prior project in that it abuts a residential neighborhood, but it's also different because this one has the commercial zoning on the property itself. And then across the street, you've got more commercial zoning, and it looked like this large parcel may be for sale, just as I was checking into things. Building itself, the building's a little under 1,800 square feet per floor, so close to 3,600 square feet for the total building, 16 parking spaces, 7 queuing. This one, again, because it's a new commercial use, they'd be adding sidewalks on 3 of 4 sides, so South 22nd, Pleasant Valley, and then up Ulm Street, so you get that pedestrian infrastructure added in that's not currently there. And then this plan detail included showing where the stormwater facilities would be, and most of that's just underground pipes and storage under the parking lot, which is pretty typical, and then connecting out to the municipal stormwater system out here at the intersection. That's the layout of this proposed development. Some things to think about with this property. The biggest thing is it's right adjacent to residential uses. This has the same side yard. It's a different zoning code section because this has commercial zoning instead of being a commercial use in a residential zone. But it's the same requirement for a 5-foot side yard along the adjacent residential uses. Most of the proposed landscaping here meets that 5 feet, But this stretch along the queuing lane, there isn't physically room to provide 5 feet. Instead, the applicant proposes a 7-foot fence to provide screening for the neighboring uses. And I couldn't tell from any of the materials that they've actually requested a waiver from that side yard requirement. So that was one of the things that was marked up in our comments, was that the city of Altoona should take a look at that and see if they've applied for a waiver or if they need one, and make a determination based on that. But just given that the side yard here is not 5 feet, it's like 3 feet with some shrubs, and given the dimensions for the queuing lane, I don't, it's not my job to design the project, but I don't know how you would get a 5-foot side yard there and meet the other parking dimensions. So our recommendations would really just for the city of Altoona to determine the side yard requirement and go through everything else. Because if there had been another commercial building behind it instead of a residence, there's nothing on these plans that I would have even seen to suggest a closer look on anything, because this project was pretty clean. So that was the code review, and then looking at the comprehensive plan. This one just, having some new businesses come in, I think supports the workforce development aspect of Allegheny's ahead. The side yard thing is just something to be checked with the municipal saldo that's related to housing and blight, and that the project would likely either need a waiver for the side yard or some redesign. I don't know if the waiver was applied for or not yet, because I didn't have any information on that in the materials that we received. But overall, didn't see any specific conflicts or concerns with the comprehensive plan, just that local issue.
The other thing, that drive-through, is going to have a speaker system to it.
I don't know.
The speaker system is going to have to be one that the sound will not go into the adjoining property.
Yeah, so you're talking like when somebody's ordering about here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
So do I have any comments or questions? Hearing none, I make a motion to go with the staff recommendation, plus suggest that the environmental certification of clearance is included into the development package, and also to make sure that the speaker system for the drive-through does not go across into the residential neighbors. So, do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor say yay.
Yay.
All those against say nay.
Hey. Sorry, that was a yay.
Oh, okay.
Excuse me.
Delayed yay.
Yeah.
Okay. Hearing no nays, the motion passes. Okay. Holliesburg YMCA expansion.
All right. So this was kind of a fun project to look at, just given how many different things are going on with it. The first step is for the YMCA to merge 3 tax parcels that they currently have. We'll show that on a later slide, but the Y sprawls across 3 different parcels. They're proposing several additions to the YMCA building. The biggest additions are going to be a new entry area, about 6,000 plus square feet in this portion of the building. And then the second larger addition is actually on the second floor in this back corner here, where they'd be adding about 11,000 square feet of new second floor space on top of the existing building. So the main change in the building footprint would be out here, and back in here it's just an addition on the building. Plus they've got several new exterior stairwells that they're proposing, and we'll show those on one of the later slides. And talk about one of them in particular. As far as site work goes, there'll be some changes to the playground area out in the front. The basic idea is that to accommodate the front expansion here, there's going to be a little bit of regrading where they dig out the area where the remains playground to be a little bit deeper than it is, take that fill to build up the front part of the front addition, and this all ties into some special flood hazard requirements that we'll talk about on other slides and why they're doing some of that grading work on the site. This location map shows where in Hollidaysburg it is. It's kind of the north end, and the property fronts on Hewitt Street, which is here, and then you've got State Route 36. This darker area, here's the main part where the existing building is, and then the property includes this really long tail that just kind of meanders away and follows Brush Run. And that part, there's no changes proposed in that area other than it's part of one of the lots that's going to get merged with the rest. So this is showing a little bit more detail on the survey lines for those 3 existing lots. And so the total property area is about 20 acres. You've got about 10 acres in here that's buildable, and then another 10 acres or so that is just this long tail along Brush Run. And the entire property has conservation and recreation zoning, which the YMCA is a permitted use for. So we talked a little bit about what this is going to look like. This is just the site layout. So here's that new front addition. Here's the playground area where some regrading would happen, and then you'd have redesigned access ramps to the door, stairs coming up from the playground to the door entrance, and then the upper story addition on the back side of the building, and then 1, 2, 3 exterior stairwells that would be added as part of the project. Now, it's a little bit hard to see on this diagram here, but this line coming through here is what FEMA maps as the 100-year floodplain. And one of the things that came up looking at this in the review that would have been helpful is if the project narrative had included a little bit more description addressing what I think is going on here. I put some notes in our review letter on what appears to be happening. So it looks to me like looking at the site, it's again difficult to spot. I'll have another slide that shows it with some shaded relief, but these are contour lines here that show as the building steps down every couple of feet. So it looks to me like when the Y was first built, that they excavated this portion of the property a little bit. So they removed soil from the flood hazard area to build up the building pad where the building's going, where the existing building is. Because these are not natural looking contour lines at all. And if you follow them out near the front of the building, you can see where they carved out kind of the playground area got lowered. It's very typical of work in flood hazard areas where you're not allowed to just build up your property because then that causes flooding on adjacent property. So what you do is you excavate a certain amount of soil from your property and you use that to build up your building pad so that your building is a foot above the base flood elevation. And all of the existing YMCA structure appears to be above that, at least a foot above the FEMA base flood elevation. And I believe that was accomplished through prior grading on the site. Just didn't get explained in any of the materials. Couple of other things. There's no rework on the parking lot. The YMCA has half the parking that the municipal saldo would normally call for. And I actually meant to point out something where I think what's going on, and this is again speculation on my part, but the saldo says that you can have shared parking. And it's fairly common for facilities like YMCAs to share parking with schools or churches. And you've got the junior high school back here My guess, I don't know this, but my guess is that the way that they got half the required parking is that they probably have a joint parking permit. That wasn't in any of the materials given to me, but based on other projects I've looked at in other places, when I see something like half the parking, there's usually a reason for it, and I suspect that that's the reason. So for this project, one of the other things we noticed is that there's no perimeter sidewalk along State Route 36, and that the only part of the sidewalk there is along Hewitt is from the existing kind of main entrance up towards the middle school or junior high school. Typically, the SALDO would require installation of parking lots along the full frontage like we saw with those other projects. I didn't see that parking lot, or I didn't see the sidewalk issue addressed in any way in the application materials, and so that was marked up as something that the borough should be looking at to determine what their requirements are. And again, sometimes it's already addressed in what the borough has. I just didn't receive any of that information.
That's part of your recommendation.
Just to make sure that they look at that. So what this map shows here is, this is from the Blair County online GIS tool. And what's handy with this is that that online tool shows the footprint of the existing building, and then what looks like shaded relief here, that's LiDAR imagery that shows the topography of the ground cover. So you've got State Route 36, Hewitt here. You've got a couple of ditches along the parking lot entrance, and you can kind of tell how things get dug out around in here. So this is in this shaded area again is the what FEMA mapped as flood hazard, but and it's easier to look at this when you're on your computer than what's projected, but you can see along and through here the kind of the shaded hillside, and that's why looking at this, it's obvious to me that some grading was done when the Y was built to elevate the building out of the floodplain. So that's is what I could piece together on the story for the property. But what's interesting is their front addition out here would extend into the flood hazard area. So that's why they have to excavate a little bit more in the playground to backfill to meet those floodplain requirements. The plans looked like they were produced focusing on those main additions. But with this exterior stairwell here, this stairwell would come out into the flood hazard area, didn't have anything indicating that they were planning any grading or ramping up to that stairwell. And so that looked to me like it was probably just kind of an oversight. So that was marked up as something to take a look at. I think it would be fairly easy to address on their site plan or construction plans, but when stuff like this gets missed on your initial site plan, if you do your building permit based on that, and then you get started in construction, and then somebody says, you know, we got to do some grading here, and then you've got a very expensive change order on the project. And so that's why we marked that up as just something to be looked at by the borough and how they want to handle that. But that exterior stairwell addition would need to be elevated above the base flood elevation from where it's at. And there's easy solutions, but they weren't shown on the plans. And again, we talked about the parking here when I went back to that middle school slide. So the zoning typically would require 247 parking spaces. They got 125. It's not my job to provide extra commentary, but the municipal parking requirement is very, very high for this kind of use. And that's something that I just, as a general observation that I've seen on a lot of local SALDOs, is that they require a lot more parking than I'm accustomed to seeing or businesses needing. So recommendations. the Hollidaysburg to determine parking requirements. That's just confirming that there is like some kind of shared use agreement or whatever that is. To take a look at the sidewalk requirements. The Y might be exempted for some historic reason. They might have asked for a waiver. I don't know. It just wasn't even discussed in the materials that I received, but it looked like that's something that should be addressed. Conservation District to look at the erosion and sediment control plan because it's less than an acre of disturbance. It's mainly at that front entrance. And that one exterior stairwell is really the only thing that I would call even a concern with the proposed design, except that it's something that's a detail that could be addressed at any stage during development. It just gets more expensive for the client or the Y if that gets discovered late in the process. So then after Hollidaysburg completes its review of the Saldo and zoning requirements, suggestion there would be to support approval. And looking last at the comprehensive plan, Allegheny's Ahead talks about cooperation with not-for-profit agencies as a way to help promote community health. The YMCA is an example of that type of thing. So I think actually the comp plan looks like it'd be supportive of an expansion at the Y as long as the specific details are correct. So long explanation for the Y expansion.
What is the primary purpose of the 3 exterior stairwells?
It wasn't disclosed on why those are, but typically when you do major additions to an existing building, you have to bring more of the building up to code. And my guess is that they would be requirements under current fire code, but maybe not when the Y was originally built.
And I noticed the one that's on the southern part of the plan, is that have a sidewalk, or will the stairwell just potentially drop down into the soil?
Well, yeah, so we're talking about this one here. The rectangular thing that's a little bit hard to read here is marked as basketball court on the plans. And the topography shows that the building slopes down. It's kind of, I wouldn't call steep, but the plans indicate ingress and egress facing the basketball court, which would be the steepest part, and the part that would be in the flood hazard area. Easy redesigns would be to move that access to the 2 sides of the stairwell, and then you'd have to do a little bit of regrading and ramping and probably a paved walkway to your point. But based on the information I have, I can't tell you exactly what the route is other than this area is all grass and you've got a basketball court that's a couple feet or maybe 3 or 4 feet lower than where the stairwell is proposed.
Yeah, I just noted that there were no proposed sidewalk additions, but you have a stairwell, the new stairwell. So you think, well, why wouldn't that exit to a sidewalk? You know, what else would it come down? You know, walk down steps, and what do you step onto? Mud or gravel or?
Well, these things often get handled as change orders during construction, and then you end up with slightly revised plans when you submit your as-builts at the end. And it's why I called it out on the site plan review, because it's the fact of a stairwell there is not really a concern to me, other than it might be a little bit in the floodway and needs some redesign. And you're talking about what are likely logical next steps of that redesign.
You might want to put into your recommendations that all stairwells exit onto a hard surface walkway. So do I have any more questions or comments? Hearing none, do I have a motion to pass the project with all recommendations of staff? Do I have a motion?
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say yay.
Yeah.
Yay. All those against say nay. Hearing no nays, motion passes. Burkholder Storage Building.
All right, well, this project is a little bit easier to explain. This is just a storage building on a vacant piece of property that's been applied for by Stephen Burkholder. The proposal is in Snyder Township and would take access off of Grazierville Road, coming up to the storage building, adding a couple of parking spaces. Because the project is for storage only and not planned to have any employees on the location, the plans propose to extend just electric service to the building, but not sewer or water service. So just running a power line from wherever the pole was out to the building. As I mentioned, it's in Grazierville, which is part of Snyder Township. It's on the north side of the road. You've got a location map here that kind of shows where that's at. So the street view of the property. So the property line is roughly where things kind of step down. So some grading had been done at some point in the past to create a level building pad. The back side of the property, which is the north, has a tributary to the Little Juniata River. Adjacent uses are residential, and then there is a church across the street roughly from where this picture was taken by Google. Proposed development's just the basic 40 by 60 building, not approved for occupancy, less than half an acre of site disturbance. This also shows a little bit of the topography line, so it drops down quite a bit to that tributary to the Little Juniata River from that leveling building pad. So this image, what I've done is just kind of in blue, showed where the river is, where the plans show for the floodway. It's not designated by FEMA, but special flood hazard area, so they just do a 50-foot setback, and that coincides pretty well with where the topography is for the site. No concerns, just mentioning that because sometimes that becomes a topic of conversation. Looking at this, because of the amount of grading, it's within the purview of Blair County Conservation District to look at the erosion plans. The frontage road there is SR 4025, so may need a highway occupancy permit, and there was a waiver request in the application to not do the curbing require upgrades on State Route 4025, so Snyder Township will have to determine if the project meets their waiver standards or not. Looking at the comprehensive plan, I tried, but I couldn't find anything in the comprehensive plan that spoke one way or the other to little storage buildings, so had no impact on the plan.
Does Snyder Township have zoning?
No zoning on the property.
Oh, Wild Wild West.
Yeah, their Saldo's got some side yard setbacks. I think, yeah, so it's kind of funny because you've got these 35-foot side setbacks. Clinton Street and Arch Street here are both unopened. And when the municipal saldo doesn't provide an automatic exemption, you still have to be 35 feet back from an unopened right away. And looking at the topography, my guess is those roads will never be open. So the applicant just put their building tight to that side setback and said, I don't want to bother applying for another waiver, so I'll just avoid that. Oops, I jumped too far ahead. Yeah.
Anybody have any questions or comments? Hearing none. Do I hear a recommendation to approve the project with staff recommendations?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor say yea.
Okay.
All those against say nay. Hearing no nays, motion passes.
All right, so our next project is the PTV Dollar General. This is also in Snyder Township. The applicant is PTV 1431 LLC, which is basically just Dollar General. So that's what I'm going to be calling it. The project is relatively straightforward. There's an existing commercial building to the north of where the proposed Dollar General store is going to go. To make the Dollar General work, the first part of the proposal is to move the lot line. So you have a minor subdivision because the current lot line comes roughly through the southern part of this existing building. It's all one owner. So they're going to move the lot line about 18 feet to the south so that that existing building is entirely on one parcel, and then the second parcel gets sold to Dollar General or to build the new store. There's some, on the subdivision plans, there's some changes on the easements and everything that, because some of the access would be across the property line and some of the utility work on the site, there'll be actual construction on both parcels after the lot lines get moved. So just looking at Snyder Township, you've got, it's in the township area, the borough of Tyrone is actually right across the street. And for anybody who's really paying attention, the storage building we were just looking at is right down in here. But it's on the east side of the road. One factor that I'll come to in a little bit is that on the west side of the road in Tyrone, there is an existing Dollar General that is right next to the village pantry here. So application materials didn't say that that existing store is going to close and move across the street. No mention of that in the materials I reviewed, but my guess is that's probably what's happening here.
Yeah, you mentioned, Brian, that I think, unless I misheard you, you mentioned about the existing building.
Right.
The existing building is not currently a Dollar General. It was formerly a garage. You know, it's actually kind of a weird combination of storage and actual residence right now. And I believe, will be just completely torn down to replace with this new Dollar General building. But the building that's there now is not a Dollar General building.
Were you talking about, so, and, oops.
Go back one slide.
Yeah, so this building here, whatever that is going to remain. But they're just moving the lot line so that can be entirely on one lot. Based on what I saw, and you know the area better than me, but I'm sorry, I can't remember what order I had all my slides in. I think Google told me that there's an existing Dollar General right next to.
There is an existing on the opposite side of East Pleasant Valley Boulevard, which is planned to close.
Yeah.
But I was under the assumption that on the new site, you know, the future site, that existing building would be torn down. But you're suggesting it will not. It'll stay, and they'll put the Dollar General behind it, basically.
Right. The Dollar General, the new Dollar General would go here, where right now in this photo it looks like it's just some material that's stacked. There is no building here. I don't know the future of this existing building.
Okay.
It looked to me like it's probably vacant. But right now it's just under common ownership where the lot line cuts through the corner of the building. So in order to accommodate the Dollar General going in this vicinity, they move the lot line, sell the property for the Dollar General, and then whatever happens here would be some later permit down the road.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I just don't have information on that building.
I was, from the prior, I was thinking that building would be torn down, but apparently not. So.
That's not on the plans that we looked at. So the overall site, it's good that you all have familiarity with it, but as you can see, it's about 4 acres, comes up the backside is the Little Juniata River. After the lot lines get adjusted, that existing building will have a little bit over 2 acres. The Dollar General property would be about 1.8 acres. Everything's level, close to the road frontage, and you do have some FEMA designated special flood hazard area in the back of the property, but none of the work is going to be happening in that special flood hazard area, so there's no particular concerns there because it's all elevated above the floodplain already. The Dollar General store, this will be the back side of the building. Here's a Little Juniata. One thing that did kind of jump out with looking at the proposed plans is that you've got this large infiltration basin to be constructed behind the store's parking lot. And then what these are showing is topography lines with the rim around that for times when you have a larger storm event, that pond is not going to be able to infiltrate fast enough. The first step is you have a piped overflow that comes to this location, and then a little bit of regrading for the spillway from that pipe down to Little Juniata. And then if you have a huge storm and that pipe gets overloaded, then you have a spillway over the berm around the infiltration pond, and then that would just kind of drain down to this what I believe is probably another stream that comes down to Little Juniata in that. But looking at these plans, one of the comments that we had is that this outlet pipe discharges right above where the topography gets a lot steeper, going right down to Little Juniata, and we're recommending that Blair County Conservation, when they look at their part on the erosion and sediment control part of the plan, consider whether that meets the current best management practices for concentrated discharge and erosion. Typically, when I've looked at permits like this, the design in other places where the NPDES requirements are a lot tighter, we'd see what's called a level spreader, which is basically a wide ditch here. And so you discharge to that ditch, and then you don't have the concentrated runoff and erosion happening when you do have those bigger storm events. But I don't know enough on the local standards to just marked it up as something for Blair County Conservation to look at. Part of the reason for that is just the proximity of the back to the river there, but on the site itself, since everything is well above the floodplain, there's no flooding concerns on the Dollar General property. So our recommendations was that I skipped over this in the beginning, but didn't get all the information on the proposed subdivision to move the lot lines. So some of that information was lacking in the materials we received. I don't know if Snyder Township has that material that was missing or not, but suggested that they determine if they have enough to approve the minor subdivision or if they need more information. Blair County Conservation District should take a look at that discharge to see if that meets all the best management practices that are part of the NPDES requirements, and that PennDOT will need a new highway occupancy permit for the rebuilt access to the state route. And otherwise, nothing that jumped out on the saldo or type of requirements. Looking at the comprehensive plan, one of the things that Allegany's Ahead talks about is commercial blight as a concern. And in this case, the project likely involves moving the Dollar General store across the street. So the question is, what happens to that existing store? Don't know the answer. No information was provided. Both Snyder Township and Tyrone boroughs were identified in the plan as at-risk communities, meaning that their financial strength is not necessarily super solid. And when you have businesses moving in or out, that can make a pretty big difference to a small municipality's budget. But again, that's just a hypothetical concern on commercial blight. Yep.
My understanding is Village Pantry is expanding into that space. I don't believe it'll be empty.
Yep. And, that's some scenario like that may be what's happening, and we could be back in a month or two to talk about the village pantry expansion, and that'd be great. But just as a general thing, when you have a lot of flexible zoning that allows businesses to continually move to newer locations, if you don't have enough demand driver for those existing locations to get reused, then you end up with a lot of vacant commercial buildings. And so that's why I brought that up, because that's a challenge. It's pretty universal wherever you go, and when you are able to build commercial almost anywhere you want.
Any more comments or questions?
There's no sidewalk concerns with this future property. I mean, there's no sidewalk there now, I guess, and there's probably not adjacent sidewalks.
Right, and when I looked at Snyder Township's, when I looked at their saldo, I couldn't find anything that would have required sidewalks. Otherwise, I would have called that out, because typically when sidewalks are a requirement, if you don't have them already, you see like infill sidewalks over time, and then you have a road where half the road's got sidewalks and the other half doesn't, and then the municipality is able to come up with some grant money to fill in those voids. But in this case, it doesn't look like it's even a requirement.
This particular area has seen a fair amount of development in the last 15 years. But the Village Pantry itself has generated a lot of activity. Of course, Dollar General, always busy. And then adjacent to that is a new Domino's Pizza. And adjacent to Domino's is Colonial Courtyard. Now, Colonial Courtyard doesn't have a lot of cars in and out, but all those other businesses do. And with the future Dollar General on the opposite side of the road, I mean, this would potentially be an area where PennDOT might want to consider putting an actual, red light in. That part of East Pleasant Valley Boulevard, you can zoom off the highway at the Tipton exit and drive all the way into Tyrone without stopping, and you can go as fast as you want some days. But there's a lot of business activity, people pulling in and out. That would be a really excellent spot for a red light, I think, to try to just slow traffic and give people access in and out of these businesses without having to whip out into traffic.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought. If you don't mind me asking a question back to the Planning Commission, what are the standards for determining when off-site improvements like lights are here? I'm used to dealing with interlocal agreements that set standards for that stuff ahead of time. Do you have that kind of thing in place with
A lot of
PennDOT?
times it comes up whenever you do traffic studies and stuff. And sometimes if you have a business move into an area that will have high flow, the recommendation would be to have a traffic study done.
Mm-hmm.
And then from that being this, the traffic study would be done, and the state would make their recommendations as to whether they're going to put in a traffic light.
Okay. Thank you. That's helpful.
I would think to a certain extent for those businesses, that would be a positive. People could access their parking areas safer, and if anything, when traffic stops and they look over their shoulder and they say, "Oh, there's a new Dollar General," or "Oh, I forgot we're out of milk at home," But I know from people that live in the area that might think, "Why do I want another stoplight?" or "Why would we want a stoplight?" But I would think there would be some benefit to just the average person pulling out of the parking lot, and those are pretty high traffic businesses, all of those.
Well, you can put that into your recommendation that we recommend a traffic study be done, for that, because it has the potential of increasing the traffic flow in that area.
Yep.
Certainly makes it more complicated with cars. When the Dollar General is across the street, now you've got people pulling out from, both the north and the south sides of East Pleasant Valley Boulevard. Right now, most of the cars are accessing just from the north side, but in the future, you'll have cars coming in and out from both sides.
Okay, anything else? Do I hear a motion to approve with all staff comments, and including recommending a traffic study be done for the Dollar General development? Do I hear a motion for approval?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor say yay.
Yay.
Okay. All those against say nay. Hearing none, motion passes. Smith Storage Building.
All right, so getting close to the end, only one after this. The Smith Storage Building is being applied for by Karen Smith Gifting. She owns quite a bit of property in the vicinity. This project is a storage building on one of her parcels with access that would come off an existing drive that's on an adjacent parcel. And that existing drive's kind of a panhandle to a parcel in back that she owns, but she also has this parcel with some other buildings that are to the north. North is to the right, and the way the plan's set up here. And what's indicated here is a new building. It'll show up in one of the later slides on a screenshot that we've got. But the building that's subject for this permit is 10,800 square feet using access to SR 36 Woodbury Pike in this area. Propose 4 new parking spaces and some stormwater infrastructure. So this is all happening in Taylor Township, just north of the Township Municipal Building. The muni buildings down here, sites up in here. It's all on the west side of Woodbury Pike. And Roaring Spring Borough is to the north. So the subject property is this one with the black hash lines going this way. It's kind of a pie-shaped property, about a little over 17 acres, only about 1 acre of site disturbance, and that's for the new building in this corner, and then the access, which would be just on this panhandle that comes back to this parcel in the back. Currently, this particular site's just used for rotational crops. Review did note that there is prime agricultural soils on this location where the proposed work is to be. There's no zoning in Taylor Township. The new development would be occurring back in here. Here's what the other plan sheet identified as a new building. It's roughly the same size, same owner. So your development back here would be another building similar to this that would add some parking spaces and some stormwater infrastructure. The project is including 3 waiver requests for Taylor Township to take a look at that. One of the waiver requests is to exempt their project from curbing requirements. The second is related to buffer area requirements, and that buffer area requirement is a requirement to have some landscaping when you've got a non-residential use in an area where you have residential or other non-commercial uses, and then some green space requirements related to landscape parking they would like to be exempt from. So they've got those 3 waiver requests in with the project application. Looking at the site itself, there's no physical constraints on the part of the site where the proposed work would be happening. Try to highlight here where that would be. So there's your access, and the building would come in here. The rest of it may remain farmland, may eventually be the next storage buildings, I don't know. In the backside here, wrapping around the property, you've got some railroad right-of-way where it drops down to that rail right-of-way. So one thing we noted on the plans is that the one part of the plans say that this existing access drive is already paved. Another part of the plan say it's to be paved. I don't know the current status. Going back to this is this Google Street View is from April, so it's only a couple months old, but it's rainy enough the day that came out here. When I looked further down, I couldn't tell if that drive has been paved or not, but that is something that would need to be looked at on the highway occupancy permit. But our recommendations, pretty straightforward here. Blair County Conservation District to just review their part on the erosion and sediment control, PennDOT to take a look at the highway occupancy requirements, if that's even needed, because it may have already been handled, if that access drive has already been paved or not. And then the township to confirm surfacing materials and of the drive, the waiver requests, and to complete their CELDO review. Looking at how this fits with the comprehensive plan, the relevant priorities in the plan are workforce development and agricultural preservation. And this project kind of is supported on one hand by workforce development. You're bringing in storage. It's primarily serving business uses. But it's also a challenge when it comes to agricultural preservation because it is taking up some prime farmland that is currently used for ag. Project doesn't appear to create any specific conflicts with the comprehensive plan because those policy directives are non-binding to sites like this, but they are some details that I wanted to bring to the Commission's awareness before you make your recommendations.
Is Taylor Township, is that area in an ag security area?
I don't believe this parcel was ag security.
Ag
Yeah.
security is usually a larger area.
Right. So yeah, the ag security here from our reference map that we put together, ag security are these bigger parcels. And I don't know when those were done because this development was one that there was a staff level review last month, didn't present to the commission, but it looked to me like this whole Bradford Lane or whatever that is was built around 2008 in the ag security area, but the subject property is outside the ag security, it's just nearby.
What would be the approximate, the big pie-shaped triangle, what would be the approximate acreage of that entire?
This is about 17 acres, and then the disturbance would be just under an acre, kind of in the corner part of it.
And the building that's being proposed is just a storage building. They're not planning to put sewage or water to that building? Or are they?
I don't remember from the plan, so that's something that we can double check.
I mean, from a personal perspective, the farmer in me says, you know, that's some of the most valuable farmland in the county under high demand. You know, we're going to disturb an acre, but we're going to screw up, 2 acres of good farming. And we're going to build a garage that nobody works in that could be built anywhere probably, I mean, it doesn't feel like the highest and best use of division, but I don't know, Linda, that's your part of the world, so what do you think about it?
It happens all the time. I mean, I've seen it time and time again, and I've pointed out that it's, that Mackenzie, it's high agriculture area, but I'm sure that property owner has a good reason for doing what he's doing. I believe he owns the adjacent buildings as well. And I'm sure he rents that ground to a agriculture farmer right now, because it looks like there's crops on it. But I don't think this commission has the power to say you can't do it because it's farming ground. Todd and I could just sit here and say that, but
we can certainly point it out though and make those comments that it's not advised.
I mean, that's,
I would make that recommendation.
yeah, I was just in Lancaster on Monday, and this is a development of brand new houses on 200 acres and the chicken barn's right here. You know what I'm saying? And I think we're gonna see more and more of it, unfortunately.
I mean, my concern, beyond the agricultural loss, would be if somebody wants to build a Traditions restaurant there, and it's going to employ 50 people, and people are going to come to Martinsburg for their lunch, and it's going to create economic development, you'd think, well, that's a high use, But if you build a storage barn that nobody works in, and what are we going to keep in there? Just a bunch of pallets or something like that? It just seems like the worst use of property to me. If you're going to take, you can build storage buildings any place, So it doesn't really, to me, I don't agree with the, Allegheny's workforce development. Yes, there might be some business that benefits from the storage, but it's not generating any jobs, and it could be built someplace else. But the other concern really is just the high demand for farmland in that area. It just seems like I'd certainly like someone to be considering that as they're looking at the project.
Anything else? Do I hear a motion to approve with all staff recommendations, including the last request?
Concerns noted.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Do I hear a second? Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor say yay. Yay.
He's
All those against say nay.
Nay.
I hear one nay. Motion passes.
Right, we're up to the last one. This one is a type of project that normally would have been on the consent agenda, but there were some complications in the review. So Mackenzie and I talked and thought that it would be good to run this by the Planning Commission so that you had the full review before it was automatically on the consent. And some aspect of this project to be a little bit related to the last conversation on ag, to kind of preview a little bit of that. So what this project is, it's a minor subdivision taking 2 existing tax parcels and making them 3 so that a new house can be built kind of in the middle. There's there's an existing house on what's shown here as lot 1, which has got there'll be another slide, but this lot actually owns some property on this side of the road too, and then you've got this larger agricultural parcel here, which would be giving most of the land up for this new lot here where you've got a proposed house where the driveway that would come off of Dick Schoolhouse Road, and we'll be talking about some of those details in a minute or two. So this one is another project in Taylor Township. Doesn't have its address given yet. It would be the 800 or 900 block at Dick Schoolhouse Road on the north side. And then you've got Bloomfield Road that comes through here. So Dick Schoolhouse comes off of Bloomfield, and it's just kind of that corner of the intersection. Topography on the site's rolling. So parts are flat, parts are really steep. Currently, most of it is used as farmland. So the flatter parts are farmed today. The steeper parts are just kind of wooded hillside that comes down to the road. There is an unnamed tributary to Halter Creek that runs along Dick Schoolhouse Road. This reference map here uses the National Wetlands Inventory location for that stream, which was done in the 1980s. Those NWI locations were published in the 80s, often using information dating back to the 1950s and 60s. I bring that up because we'll be talking about that stream location, and in my prior experience in Washington State, NWI was often out of date and is not necessarily a reliable source for locations of streams. The project plan also near Bloomfield Road in this vicinity, there's an existing access that looks like it's probably an agricultural drive to get in and off the property. The topography shows a closed basin What that means is the topography dips down to the road, and before Bloomfield Road was built, there would have been a ravine that just kept going to that tributary of Halter Creek. But when Bloomfield Road was constructed, they filled in part of that edge of that ravine to build the road and created a depression on the property. And some of our comments are that the township to take a look at that, because in my prior experience, closed basins next to roads where they were created by road constructions always cause road maintenance problems. So water's got to go somewhere. So it's seeping underground, and if it wasn't handled on the road design, then you've got one issue, and if it was handled on the road design, then the subdivision plans were not complete because they didn't show that infrastructure. So I don't know the story or what's there. I just know that something wasn't adding up in that location. Another thing here was the total acreage. According to the plans, there's 42.6 acres. There's a note on some of the plans that talk about one of the parcels being subdivided. Recently, I think it was like December of last year, there was some kind of deeding action. With this map here that we put together shows the current parcel boundaries, which that big farming parcel has this big arm up this way. But I'm going to skip back to the other plans. You'll notice on the plans from the applicant that they show that parcel line coming through about here. So, so here's where the applicant is showing the current parcel lines, and that's totally fine, except for that the plans say that this, to their knowledge, this parcel hasn't been subdivided or created any new lots since 1972. That can't be true if that's the parcel line and their plans also references deeding action. So I'm not saying that that's necessarily a problem with the proposed development, but the application materials are not complete and not fully describing what's happening on that property. So some of the comments get really specific on subdivision requirements that Taylor Township's just got to take a closer look at and make sure that they've got all the materials they need for that part. So looking at the development itself, this is the area where the new house would go. So you've got Dick Schoolhouse Road. The plans show a large pipe under the access to that new house. So right when you get to the roadway, it's a 2.5 foot diameter pipe that's 40 feet long. And I'm not sure if that is the drainage ditch on that side of the road or the stream location, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Part of the concern there is that the plans say that no part of the property is in the special flood hazard area, but this tributary stream is special flood hazard area, and FEMA does indicate that the flood hazard area extends onto the site, and that includes where the driveway would go. What this image shows is if you follow the topography lines and everything else, this house that's across the street, actually this house, this would be a good reference point, so things are rotated a little bit. That house in the next image is this building here, and so what we're looking at on the following image is down here. So if the stream comes up here, there's no doubt that it's on this side of Dick Schoolhouse Road, and then it disappears. And you have topography lines here that look like they've been regraded, and looking at Google Earth, looks like the stream probably comes in here where you got all the rockeries and then piped over here, because why else is there a pipe where they're putting their driveway? So I believe that the stream has been relocated to this side of the road, but I haven't visited the site, so I don't have confirmation of that, but that's something that looks like a very good chance to be the case. And on the subdivision, the applicant is required to identify the location of any streams or waterways within 200 feet of the property. They didn't do that. They just said, well, NWI says it's all on the other side of the road, and the topography and everything for the civil plan suggests that it needs a closer look. So the other thing was that proposed house is on part of the site that has better agricultural soils. Basically, they took the property, the part with the nicest view at the top of the hill on the property is exactly where they're going to put the house. So it's perfectly understandable why they chose that location, but it is the same thing we were just talking about with the comprehensive plan saying that you've got priority to ag and then other actions that allow other things. So long list of things for Taylor Township to take a look at. The parcel information and history, because that wasn't complete on the materials we received. Township should verify the drainage and stream locations. That's in part because the application materials didn't meet all the things that are required to be shown on the plans, and also because if some of those drainage infrastructures are where they appear likely to be, then either the township has infrastructure there that should have access and maintenance easements that weren't shown on the plans, or if they have infrastructure without those easements, then a subdivision is your best opportunity to get those easements provided. But none of that stuff was disclosed on the plans that we received. And to verify the flood hazard information and location, because if that stream is piped as it appears to be, and partly surface as it appears to be, then the flood hazard requirements were not adequately shown on the plans. So there's a lot of things to be verified by Taylor Township. And after they get done through all of that, they may need to apply some special conditions on the approval and to work with the applicant to determine appropriate access and maintenance easements to drainage features, because that's all necessary to be shown on the plans. Because if you're moving lots and you have an easement, you can't do a subdivision without showing that easement. And if you don't have the easement, but the township should have it, this is their opportunity to get it. So it's not really comprehensive plan level details, but there was a lot more comments on this project than typically. And looking at the comprehensive plan, really what it amounts to is the plan says to give priority to ag. You've got a house that would be occupying some of that prime farmland, but there's nothing in the comp plan that specifically precludes conversion of ag land to other uses. And that concludes that review.
Any comments or questions?
I believe that this property is in an ag security area, right?
Let's see. So this one is in an ag, you're right. So this purple dashed line, so that is in an ag security area.
So I think at the very least we should note that and that maybe if it's going to, would it not go to the conservation district for approval?
So for this kind of review, typically no, but because we brought it to the attention of the board, and we're making those additional comments, that's what we're hoping for, just because there were additional concerns. So it's in this case.
Would that actually be a comment or a requirement?
We can't
We
require.
can't require anything.
So I do have like one kind of preference type question to the commission. As I've been going through these slides, I'm realizing that the order I'm doing things might not make sense to close with the comp plan after recommendations. What do you want me to do in future? Either way? Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know all the stipulations of how an ag security area works, but you know, the when we are discussing plans that involve loss of prime farmland, you know, if it is in an ag security area, I think we certainly should. I mean, that's not necessarily our job to stymie the project, but I think we should at least send it over to conservation district to have them review it. So. So that doesn't get missed. You know.
Okay.
Anything else?
What's that? So we need two motions for that one.
Two motions.
Motions to send it to Blair Conservation and the second to
Okay.
approve it.
First off, let's do the motion to send it to
Blair
Blair County Conservation District. Do I hear a motion to send it to the Blair County Conservation District? So moved. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor say yay.
Okay.
All those against say nay. Hearing no nays, motion passes. Now the second one is the approval of the project. Do I hear a motion to approve the project with all staff comments?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor say yay.
Okay.
All those against say nay. Motion passes.
All right. Thank you, Ryan. So number 12 on your agenda is are the staff level reviews. These are the minor subdivisions and lot line changes that were sent out to you via email in the month of June. On your agenda, there is one that we are going to strike. That's Snyder Township, Scott Wetstein Residential Development on Lone Wolf Drive. That one was not sent out to you. So disregard that one. You'll get that one on your next consent agenda. But do I have any questions on these staff level reviews? Again, these are the ones that you guys receive through email throughout the month.
You need a motion to approve?
Yes,
I
unfortunately.
move to approve the consent reviews.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor say yay.
Yay.
All those against say nay. Motion passes.
Okay, so number 13 on your agenda is the update to the City of Altoona's zoning code and subdivision and land development ordinance. This is all together Altoona. I believe Rhonda provided my cursory review letter for all of you to look at, but I went through both documents. They're sitting in front of Nick over here as well, and they are pretty hefty. So I'm just gonna go through a couple. I do have them open if anybody wants to ask specific questions on the code update or the saldo, but I'm just going to go through some of my recommendations and some of my comments. I broke them down into sections. My first section that I included on there was regarding the planning administrator role. This is kind of a centralized role that takes the place of the planning commission for all reviews other than major development reviews and major subdivisions, which I think that the purpose of the position is good. I think it helps establish resilient planning as a priority for the city, which is part of our comprehensive plan. I did point out that removing the Planning Commission's regulatory review function, which is we have the advisory review function, so we can just make comments, but the municipality actually has the regulatory review function. Those are the ones whose reviews are set in stone. Those are the ones that matter a little bit more. So removing the Planning Commission's regulatory review function for everything other than major land developments might require additional steps and hearings to ensure that it's consistent with the MPC. When I was reviewing the MPC yesterday, taking powers away from the Planning Commission and then giving powers to a different entity, it just requires public hearings, and I'm not sure that they've gone through that process. So I just recommend to visit that if they haven't already done so. Additionally, I did make a comment that says the removal of that function from the Planning Commission while it could help streamline the overall review process, it could potentially hinder municipal cooperation among staff members at the municipality, as well as transparency for the municipality and kind of impact public trust. So I recommended that in lieu of eliminating the lower level reviews, such as subdivisions, lot line changes, and other minor developments from the monthly City Planning Commission meeting agenda outright, that they could potentially adopt something similar to what we do, which is a consent agenda style updates to summarize the proposals for the City Planning Commission so that they still have the ability to comment on these lower level reviews. And and that can be done via email. Similar, like I said, to the way that we do it now. I just think that removing the power from the Planning Commission altogether and giving it to just one person, one salaried individual at the city, it removes a lot of the democratic process where people can come in and members of the public can say, hey, this is what my concern is, or like have the opportunity to plead their case, or whatever that might be. So I do think that centralizing that process and removing the powers from the Planning Commission could potentially have some blowback on them. So I did mention that in the application process, which I highlight up here. I did commend that the concise and accessible way that they outline the development process to show exactly what is needed for every different type of development, or for every different type of review. There's about 6 or 7 of these that are included in the code update. So I just included 2. This is what low-level reviews like subdivisions, lot line changes, and minor developments will look like. And you see here, they don't go to the Planning Commission at all. They just go to the Planning Administrator, and the Planning Administrator has the final decision. Whereas for the major subdivisions and land developments, it would be the same process, and then it would go to the Planning Commission for a final review or comment. Which I said, by laying it out that way, it visually helps people to really understand what they are applying for. I did say that it might be beneficial to include a small section in the plan just for what's required for our review process, for Blair Planning's review process, and what reviews would specifically rise to meet the criteria of what needs to be reviewed by the county, just so that they can find all of that information in one place and not have to look for it elsewhere. Additionally, oh, I'm not there yet.
May I ask a question about the tables?
Sure.
So we're not currently the final approval of anything, are we? I mean.
So this board does not approve anything. We make comments and you'll approve my comments, but actual actions, like we don't approve or deny a land development because our comments are advisory, whereas the municipality has that regulatory function. So if their Planning Commission said no, then that project would not move forward because they have that final say.
So the one on the right is confusing to me because it appears that the Planning Commission would be like the final approval or something, but.
That is how it is. That's correct.
Is that the City Planning Commission?
Correct.
Oh, I'm sorry. So where's Blair County Planning?
We don't fit into this. This is the city's zoning code. So this is their review process. Because the county is just an advisory committee that they send their plans to, we don't fit into their regulatory process. We're just an additional function, like sending a permit to the DEP or something like that.
Are we gonna be on either side of these two?
We will be on both sides, probably right in here we'll be doing the same kind of review as the planning administrator. Our function won't change.
I gotcha. So they're not eliminating our role.
No, our role will not change at all.
They're potentially eliminating their city planning commission.
Correct. Yes, they outright said that at the last City Planning Commission meeting, that the City Planning Commission would not be reviewing low-level reviews anymore, would not be reviewing permits, and would not even be reviewing variances or anything like that. All of that's going to go through a separate committee that's going to be created by by staff. So that's what my comments were regarding. Additionally, there was an inclusion of a small section for high hazard areas. My only comment for that was just to integrate that, if possible, with the with Blair County's hazard mitigation plan, BRAVE, in some way, so that it could potentially assist with future funding opportunities. These use tables are new in this plan, which I just included 2 here, but there are quite a few, many pages of different use tables for each of the different zoning districts that show what is allowed in some districts, what's not. I think this might look like nonsense to you right now, but in the context of the plan, all of the visuals and the renderings that were provided were so nice to see. Actually, I might be able to swap over. Oh, I had it right on high hazard areas. I was prepared. See, we have pages and pages of these use tables for every different zoning district, and these are really super helpful for people who want to just see where they are going to find something, and all they have to do is match up, and they can they can get their answer. So a lot of these renderings have been super beneficial, I think, to the new plan. I did include some language on in the definitions portion. We did commend the inclusion of general rules for interpretation for the definitions. This was something new that I have not seen before, where right before the portion where it defines all of the terms that will be used in the zoning code, it says if this, then this. If this is the condition, then this will mean this. So I think defining those terms is and how they are applied is also really beneficial. I didn't see that in the previous code, so I think that it's all just going to improve overall accessibility. So I like that. The introduction and the breakdown for each of the zoning districts is also appreciated. Sorry. This is going to be a lot. Okay, you can see it right here. So for each zoning district, it has an introduction that explains like what the district will be used and applied for, and it just does a really great job visually breaking things down, doing renderings for parking and setbacks, things like that. I think these visuals throughout the plan really make it so accessible and so easy to use that this is going to be a really great resource that's just not going to collect dust on the shelf. I think I had, overall, I would say that because we were such a big part of the Altogether Altoona development process, it's been very successful and very hands-on, and that is a really commendable direction for not just the city, but for Blair County as a whole. I think they are doing something, CZB has fostered some really great momentum in the city with this plan that we are really excited to try and take forward and use in our other municipalities. And I'm really, really thrilled with the outcome of this plan, and sitting in on a lot of the outreach with the city and a lot of their feedback has also been overwhelmingly positive. So it seems that they're also really happy with CZB as well. And I believe it was 1 year ago this month, I think, that we reviewed Altogether Altoona, which was their comprehensive plan. This is the addendum to that, which is just the finished product, was creating their zoning in Saldo. Do I have any questions on this? Oh, this is all available on their website, altogetheraltoona.com, the full document, the full zoning code, which is the big stack in front of Nick, and then the Saldo, which is the smaller one. Those are available. They also have an interactive zoning map that I'm going to try to open, where it actually will show you, maybe, it's supposed to show you the changes. Okay. There we go. So it's showing you what is changing in the new proposed zoning versus the existing. And there's a list also in front of you, Nick, that has the specific changes to the zoning map. I cannot think of them off the top of my head, but there were maybe like 6 or 7 that had changed, or 6 or 7 areas. But yeah, like I said, it's available for you to take a look at on altogetheraltoona.com. It is a really, really nice plan. Probably one of probably the best zoning code I've seen. And I have seen a couple of zoning codes, but it's probably the best one I've seen. All in all, consistent with our comp plan, and like I said, we've been pretty involved in the process as they've been developing the plan. So stuff that's come up along the way with the city specifically, they've had a lot of concerns related to the zoning changes or related to specific areas, and that has all been kind of mitigated throughout the process, I believe.
Did you want a motion?
I do. I just have
your concerns that related to public comment, or the lack of such, do you want that on the record that we?
Yeah, so the letter that I sent, I drafted a letter that you have a copy of in front of you. I will probably go back through and sit down with Dave and have a few more things to maybe extrapolate on or go into a little bit more detail on, but those are the comments for our review. This is just like any other action by government body, so like any other zoning code update or ordinance update, we'll still need a motion on this one so that we can, or so that the city can adopt it.
So you think there may be changes to this?
No, no. All of the things that were recommended were like changing a word here or something there. Nothing that would make it have to go back through the public hearing process.
Okay, do I hear a motion to approve the draft letter proposed
So moved.
zoning and saldo update? Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor say yay. Yay. All those against say nay. Hearing none, motion passes.
Okay. Number 14 on your agenda are the Metropolitan Clearinghouse staff level items that have been sent out via email this month. These are for permits, and I don't think there were any grant letters of support that went out this month, although after the meeting last month, I did send out to your email copies of the letter that I sent to which municipality about the
Snyder Township.
Snyder Township. Thank you about Amtran. So I did send you all a copy of that, and that letter went out that day, or a couple of days later, I think.
The letter of support
Who for
letter
what?
of support for the grant for Crawford Road.
I didn't do that for Crawford Road.
Yeah, you gave it to me.
Oh, okay. That was on. Then that might have been on a different consent agenda. Okay. For Crawford Road, where is that at? In Taylor.
Township.
Okay, then, okay, those are just, again, letters of comprehensive plan consistency as well. So just that the projects are consistent with our comprehensive plan. And I will need, just an approval of staff actions on these.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say yay.
Okay.
All those against say nay. Hearing none, motion passes. Okay, we're up to administrative items.
At the end of the operating year, so it's that time of year again. As mentioned last month, the fee schedule, we do look at that every couple of years, about every 2 years. I'm still going to hold off on doing that, just so we can get our minds a little better around what the schedule, how it relates to how we are being billed by Stewart Group, just to make sure the costs are all being covered. And that seems to have settled out now, so we'll have a better grasp on another month or two. There's nothing that says we have to do this fee schedule in conjunction with everything else. It's just always been convenient to do it at this point in time. So that will hold as it is right now. The budget just came around. We did go through. We do have a 12%, just shy of 12% increase on the insurance. So you'll see that reflected there. And then the other thing with the insurance, you'll notice we had last year said that we were going to, as we were adjusting everything, eliminate the 90-10 match and cover it completely with the Planning Commission. So that's why that the 56 to 72 is a little more than 12%, and that reflects all that. There would be no more health insurance deductions coming out of the staff pay to cover that. That was something that was discussed last year. We made an adjustment last year on the match for family, and then as we were looking and reviewing how others are doing things in order to attract employees and what the national trends are on this right now, it was agreed at that point to eliminate that. So that number reflects that. The COLA was set, like we mentioned last month, at 3%, so that reflects that as well. Other than those numbers, the budget pretty well holds from what was presented last month. Staff salaries, reflecting that, we need to read those off and then vote on those as well. Transportation planner, 81,575. Regional planner, 55,025. Planning aide, 41,025. Director, 9650. It's 9650. And strategic planner, 59,200. So that will be those. And we get a vote on that part of it, and then we can move on to the election of officers, unless there's questions, of course.
And the salaries that you read off are approximately 3% higher than the prior
They
year.
are this, yeah,
Okay.
no, they are this year.
Were there any other notable changes in salaries beyond the 3% cost of living?
No. Yeah, we generally, historically, have taken the COLA for this region, and whatever that is, we apply it to our salaries. It made things a little easier that way. It was more equitable and fair.
Do you mind just reading that list off again one more time?
This was, yeah.
The salary list?
Yeah, transportation planner, 81,575, regional planner, 55,025, planning aide, 41,025, director, 90,650, and strategic planner, 59,200.
I move to approve the proposed salaries for
Do I hear a second?
25 to 26
I have
budget.
discussion. Is this due June 30th?
This is for July 1,
It starts July 1.
for fiscal year. Is that Tuesday?
I wasn't sure. I just have a question. I'm sorry, I wasn't here last month due to the responsibilities of a board member, but I just really think it's unheard of that you don't have this, you're not paying some health insurance. I just think that's really, I don't know what I'm looking for, but I know that a lot of people pay a lot of money for their, they pay a stipend for their health insurance. And when you say it's to draw people, I just need an explanation for that.
When we, last year when we did the, we looked at the, I'm drawing on some memory here. We looked at redoing and restructuring how the health insurance and the HSA and the Guardian, and that whole package was being worked out. And at that point in time, we made some adjustments to health insurance with the goal that this year we would eliminate that 90-10. That is not in stone. If you want to leave the 90-10 in, I can certainly make that adjustment. But I just moved forward on that because that's kind of where we had left things last year.
So in the past, the staff contributed 10%.
10%.
And that this is suggesting that 10% be eliminated.
Yeah, based on discussions that were had about 15 months ago.
I remember just that, is that money put into a fund and an HSA and then it's used monthly or as they need it? Is it on a card or is it just
goes
they
on the
pay
card.
10% of
No,
what?
the 10% comes out of there. That's for the premium.
Okay,
The HSA is the equivalent of because it's a high deductible plan. So the HSA covers basically the equivalent amount of the deductible. So if you have it's a $2,200 deductible for the one plan. So the people on the $2,200 deductible can deduct or can have $2,200 added to their card.
Okay,
we do
so
that for you.
if we did away with that, would they still have the $2,200 deductible?
Yes,
So you still have
the
that?
HSA would still be in there, yes.
And does the planning commission fully fund the HSA contributions?
They fund up to that amount.
Yes.
There is a maximum that the federal government that allows that's higher.
Yeah.
We do not fund that, but the employee would have the option to max it out.
So we fund the value of the deductible, and the employee can contribute beyond that,
Right.
with their own funds, without a match, I assume.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, so, but the 90-10, sorry, I forgot you, yeah. The 90-10 issue was discussed
Yes, it was.
last year at some point. And like I said, I just carried it through, but if there is an issue, there's nothing written that says it has to be eliminated. But I was just carrying that through because that's what was discussed last year.
The deductibles remain the same.
Yeah, our plan just auto-renews unless we want to make a change. We did look at the changes. There's nothing really out there that makes sense to change it. So the plans remain the same. We actually have several plans on file because we have 2 levels of deductible. And then because poor Rhonda happens to live on the wrong side of a line, she needs to be on a different set of plans for some reason. It's just odd. It's the exact same plan, but administratively, because they regionalize it.
I think we need a subdivision plan moving that line.
It's gonna be quite a bit.
Yeah.
It's really hard for us to negotiate good interest rates or health care rates because we are a small, very small
Yes.
group too. So we're stuck basically with the penny option of healthcare, the UPMC version. It's
You can't
exactly
be in the courthouse group.
no.
No, we've
We've
tried.
tried numerous times and we were not.
And I understand the reasoning why we
Right.
can't, but yeah, we can't.
Okay.
So yeah, but if somebody is aware of a group that we could join that would help out with that, it would help. See, this is easily the biggest adjustment we have to make every year is this health insurance, and it's always a last minute thing, and it is always a significant amount.
And she just sent us our information packet on Monday.
Yep.
And she admitted in the email that she's late this year getting these out to us. And we flip Monday is our auto renew.
It's coming Monday.
Monday's the last day we can make any changes and it automatically renews for Tuesday, July 1.
It's like this every.
Yeah.
It's like this every
You remember
year.
Bill complaining about it. This
Yeah.
is what he's complaining about.
And
Yeah.
who do we
Yeah.
use as a broker?
LR Weber.
Yeah, thank you. Used to be JJ.
L.O. Weber.
LR Weber.
They're out by Meadows.
Yes. All right, thank you.
So do I hear a motion to approve?
You have one already for the salaries.
Do I hear a second? Second. All those in favor say yea.
Okay.
Yay.
All those against say nay.
We need another one for the budget.
I'd like to make a
Here-
motion
here
to
you
the
go.
budget, we balance the budget and put the approximately $12,500 difference into a budgeted expense for interns.
Do I hear a motion to approve the budget as outlined?
So move with change noted.
Do I hear a second? Second. All those in favor say yea. Yea. All those against say nay. Motion passes.
Election of officers. Usually gets passed over this direction. Current officers are, chairman is Herb, the secretary is Nick, the treasurer is Jim. Herb has indicated he would like to step back, so we're going to have at least one change there. I know we like the habit of just moving the current slate forward, but that's not going to be possible this year. Nick has been standing in for Herb as chairman for the last couple months as well, just so there's a clarification of what's going on there. Herb has, again, has to step back because of some primarily health issues that are going on. Nick has stepped up to that point, but he is still technically secretary, and then Jim is the treasurer. So I'll open nominations for the chairman.
Do we have to recess this and then open, don't we?
You never did.
No,
I thought it had to cross, we had to cross, you have to take over to do the nominations and it goes back.
I have to do it.
Okay.
Yeah, I have to do it, but there's no other special way.
Okay.
I don't remember any other special way that we've done it.
I thought we had to recess and do the nominations, close the vote, and then open it back up.
I have to close the vote, but
Okay.
yeah,
My apologies.
I'll nominate Nick
for chair. All right, I have a nomination for Nick. Any other nominations for chair?
Would you accept that nomination, Nick?
Yes, I would.
Is there a motion to close nominations for chair?
I so move.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Nominations for secretary, which would now be vacant.
I nominate Todd.
I'm kind of the new person here, but shouldn't we nominate somebody that's been around for a while?
Well,
I don't, I'm the guy that's
yeah, see,
who's not here.
we're all looking at you now, Todd.
What is the responsibilities of the secretary?
Well, if I'm absent, you'll have to fill in for me.
Technically, on the secretary, you're the keeper of the documents, so the policy documents, minutes, and the agenda technically would fall under your office. We take care of all that as staff, but it would fall under your office. The most visible form of, or the most visible part of that job is if he's not here, you would have to step into that role. And then there's an executive committee once a month that takes an hour and a half to 2 hours. Right now, that's the first Wednesday at 8:30 in the morning, but that's always subject to change. Depending on who's in the offices. That would be, in a nutshell, what the expectations are.
And the secretary attends those executive committee meetings. That, unfortunately, that's not a window of time for me that's available.
We can change those. We actually changed those when Herb was put in to 8:30 because he preferred the very early morning on that, which he said 8:30 to him is midday.
But maybe Linda is available at that time. Would you consider being the secretary? Because I'd be happy to nominate you for it.
What is it?
The secretary.
No, what's the time frame?
Right now, the executive committee meets first Wednesday of the month at 8:30, but that time can be changed easily. It's not like it's a
Or
published
the
time.
date even.
Yeah, the time or day or anything.
I pass. Thank you for asking.
I'll accept that nomination. As long as we can change the meeting.
You know, we can
Yeah,
easily
we
do
can
that.
change
Easily.
the day and the time. It's not an issue.
And location, that was
Yeah,
something
yeah.
else
Right
you
now it's
guys
in Bellwood. We
discussed.
could pass it. We could change that. too.
Yeah, I kept wanting to get it over at Tom and Joe's.
Yeah,
Ooh,
that
we're
sounds
coming.
That'd be better.
Well, I like to eat.
So do I. Look at me. So
Same.
do
I always say I had to maintain my figure. Motion to close nominations.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
And then nomination for the treasurer, currently occupied by Jim.
He's not gonna give it up.
I don't give it up anytime.
I'm not gonna let Jim go.
Yeah, he does a good job.
We don't want to have the whole board turnover.
You should have brought your picture and got it autographed.
That's right.
I nominate Jim to maintain.
Second.
Second.
All right, Jim,
I'm fine with that.
all right, motion to close nominations.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all All in favor?
Yeah.
Okay, now we need the formal motion to vote in the 3 for the offices. So I need a motion to formally make Nick the chairman, Todd the secretary, and Jim the treasurer.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say yay.
Yay.
All against, say nay. Hearing none, motion passes.
The last dot is new, and we're going to make this an annual thing. We did meet with First National earlier this week, and realized that our signatories are well out of date. So Jim's actually the only valid signatory on our accounts right now. So we're going to make this an annual thing when we redo the officers. Even if they don't change, we're going to send the bank a letter authorizing the officers as signatories on the account. So I need a motion authorizing us to send that letter.
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor say yay.
Yay.
Yay. All those against say nay. Hearing none, motion passes.
And before we move on, just so people are aware, I think everybody's noticed me carrying this thing around for the last couple months. Health-wise, I've been rather distracted, and at the recommendation of several people, I will be taking the majority of the month of July off to focus on health needs. So I will be kind of absent for most of the month. There are meetings that are scheduled that I should be at that it's going to be inconvenient to reschedule. I will make a point of being those, but my presence in the office is going to be extremely limited. So I just want to let everybody know that. So that's what's going on.
Are you using your sick days, or how are you doing that?
Vacation time.
You're taking vacation.
I got so much vacation time built up, it's obscene.
Okay.
It's left over from COVID. I went 2 years without taking any vacation time. So
Okay.
The commissioners are jumping for joy. Hey.
yes, President. Yes, I should say that. Yes, sorry, it is no longer president or chairman. It's president of the commission. We eliminated the term, so it's now president instead of chairman.
Oh, yes, you're president.
Yes.
I'm attacking him now.
He's basically the presiding officer.
Oh.
Nick, other items for the agenda?
Oh, yes.
16.
Mr. President.
Okay, number 16. You can call me El Presidente. Number 16, Planning Commission Forum.
No. Questions from the media?
Questions from the media?
I'm good. Got what I-
Sure?
Not sure, but I got what I need.
Okay, a lot of laughs, huh?
Right. Can't oppose that.
Okay, announcements. June 30th, HBCC annual meeting. July 4th, holiday, office is closed. July 8th, pedal cycle and pedestrian advisory committee meeting. July 9th, PennDOT District 9 interstate presentation. July 21st, PennDOT District 9 Blair County Planning Commission TIP priorities meetings. July 22nd, PennDOT Highway Performance Monitoring System Workshop. And that concludes our meeting. I call the meeting adjourned.